With the #1 pick in the MLB Draft, the Cleveland Guardians selected Travis Bazzana out of Oregon State this past season for the Beavers. He hit .407 with 28 home runs and 66 RBI. Bazzana becomes the first #1 overall pick in Guardians franchise history and the second in Oregon State history, joining Adley Rutschman in 2019. Now here's a look at the rest of the top 10, right? So you have Chase Burns going to the Reds, the righty. How about Charlie Condon, third base out of Georgia, Nick Kurtz for Wake Forest. Jack Caglianone going #6 to Kansas City. A lot of people thought might go to the White Sox, but he's going to Kansas City. J.J. Weatherholt going to West Virginia. Going to the Cardinals out of West Virginia. Then you had Christian Moore and Connor Griffin and Seaver King rounding out the last couple spots of the top 10. Time now to welcome in CBS Sports baseball analyst Chris Welsh. And Chris, given what you know about Travis and his skill set, how excited should Guardians fans be to see Cleveland select him #1 overall?
They should be massively excited. This is a huge win. Baseball fans in MLB Draft have like a little bit of a different experience of what you might have in any other sport because things can really be about money. The Orioles have done this in the past. Heston Kjerstad was one of those with the #2 overall pick. Teams will sometimes want to save money, and that was the rumor that was going on here, that Travis Bazzana's price tag was too high. Maybe it would be J.J. Weatherholt. They should be ecstatic because he is the best guy in the draft. The best barrel rates in college, massive EV numbers. He doesn't strike out. He walks. His 28 home runs, as I had mentioned before, his 28 home runs were more homers than his entire college, Cape Cod, and Australian League combined. More homers than all of those combined. He's the real deal, and they didn't try to save a couple bucks for anything later. So this is the big win for Cleveland.
All right, now the Rockies selecting Georgia star Charlie Condon, #3 overall. He led all NCAA powers in homers this past season. How do you see him elevating his play at Coors Field?
Yeah, I mean, he had one of the best 90th percentile exit velocities, and that's just taking, the top 10% of his average exit velocities and saying, what is that? It was 111.8. So that's amazing. His 88.7 contact percentage against high velocity pitches, 92 or higher. That was one of the best in college. So you've got these big, huge, those are just a couple metrics just to be like, hey, guess what? He's amazing power. He does have some issues. He's got some slider issues. He had a 33.3% slider miss rate, which is really bad in college, but he kind of reminds me of everything that they might have wanted out of Chris Bryant. There's been some comps out of there. Chris Bryant has been a disappointment, but this is another, big 6'6", 210+ pound third baseman who could potentially play outfield and has 40 home run power that's going to thrive in Colorado. So if he gets some of the potential chase issues out of the way, he could be a star in this league.
Can't wait to see if that is going to come to fruition. Now, many thought Florida's two-way star, Jack Caglianone, would go to the White Sox, but it's Kansas City at #6. And he actually said that the Royals are going to let him pitch and hit for now. So with that being said, Chris, how successful do you think he can be at that? Because I'm not going to throw the Shohei Ohtani expectations, because that's ridiculous.
I am going to be, I'm going to pump the brakes a tiny bit. I love that they're going to let him be a two-way player to start. And I love that they are going to let him do a little bit of pitching. But I don't think that that's going to continue unless it's a contingency plan. I mean, hey, listen, you never know. The San Francisco Giants did this with Bryce Eldridge and Reggie Crawford, 2 picks that they had. They let them both be two-way players. And then this year they said, pick one. And that's what they did. Reggie Crawford's a pitcher. Bryce Eldridge is now a hitter. The difference is those were high school guys. This is a college bat and a college arm that might be a little bit more pro-ready, so you never know what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to need to focus on the hitting. He had a pretty high ground ball rate. He had a really bad chase rate, 38%. And they're going to want him to just continue to build on that low strikeout rate, even though he had a bad chase rate. Those big monster EVs. He had a 121 max EV. And just let him thrive as a hitter and help boost Bobby Witt and the rest of that team. So at the end of the day, I think it'll be a pitcher, but it is very fun that they said two-way player when he was drafted.
Right. I was saying, I thought maybe they would hold that in a little bit until later on, but no, they're saying right now you can be a two-way player. We'll see if that stays the course, as you said. Now, infielder J.J. Weatherholt going to the Cardinals with the 7th overall pick. Do you think St. Louis got a steal here, or this was where he needed to be drafted?
I think if you listen to all the buzz, this feels like a steal. But if you had gone through the entire process, this feels about right. The buzz was, hey, take a little bit of a haircut. J.J. Weatherholt has a lot of similarities with Travis Bazzana, maybe not the same power projection, but 95.4 average exit velocity. That was higher in college than Jack Caglianone, but just a tiny bit lower than Travis Bazzana and Condon. He had a 14% chase rate, which was only really beat by Nick Kurtz, who went 4, and Travis Bazzana. And he had a 10% K rate, which was like the lowest except for Jack Caglianone. So you had all of that. With how I approach it, I think he has a Corbin Carroll-like swing. He gets across his body. He can push it all fields. I don't think he has the power that Corbin Carroll had, but he's got the all fields contact. So this is an advanced hitter that is a really great situation with the Cardinals and their development. I think Cardinals fans should be excited, but at the end of the day, this is more appropriate. It was just we were built up that he was going to end up being like maybe the guy that takes the haircut. 7's a good spot. It's great for the Cardinals.
All right, now how about your biggest winner from round 1 of the MLB draft, man?
All right, there's a couple out there. The homer in me wants to tell you guys the Arizona Diamondbacks because they took a bunch of great picks. We're not going to lie about that. I will tell you Cleveland taking Travis Bazzana and not screwing it up, great. But number 1 in my mind is Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves getting Cam Caminiti where they did at 24. I still do not believe that they thought that would happen. If we had one of those really awesome, how Hard Knocks is out there and you get to see the draft rooms, if we had one of those, I bet Braves owners and leadership would just be looking at each other like, what's going on here? 9-0 record in high school, 0.9 ERA, over 100 strikeouts, and has a pitch arsenal to be an absolute ace. So I think they are shocked that they were able to get a frontline starter like this, and they have developed pitchers really, really great. This is the #1 high school pitcher, I would say bar none, and they were gifted this Cam Caminiti pick. And I'd also throw out to you just one other, the Colorado Rockies. We talked about Condon, but they also got a kid named Brody Brecht, who really seemed like he was going to be a first-round pick, can hit triple digits with a fastball, and might not be affected fully with movement in Colorado. A lot of pitchers can take some downturns when they go to Colorado. He might not be a guy that's affected by that. So they actually got 2 really great college bats, and it's super difficult to bring free agents to Colorado. So I think Colorado did a good job, but the Atlanta Braves, they jump out of just really it's the great job they did and they won is they were gifted Cam Caminiti.
No, they really were. And I guess other teams are hoping that Caminiti is not going to be, a special player because he might be, imposing his will on them for a very long time. Okay, so those are the winners. How about the biggest loser from round 1 of the draft?
All right, I'm going to maybe upset some people. This won't be the biggest loser. This will just be number 2. I will say the New York Yankees. I don't like the Ben Hess pick. I think they took floor and they took a pitcher that they felt can be a starter and doesn't have relief risk. But I think there's some injury concerns that are out there with Ben Hess. 5 ERA doesn't make me feel good. It's just solid stuff. But, the injuries and the inflated ERA, and they passed on Brody Brecht. They passed on some really good players. So I was not happy with what they did. And maybe they'll make up for it a little bit later. And they potentially could. The other one would be the Milwaukee Brewers. What they did with their picks was just a little bit surprising. Everyone thought with that first-round pick where they ended up taking Braylon Payne, who was not seen as a first, maybe even second-round talent at a high school. We thought, okay, maybe at 34 they're going to try to take some value. They didn't. They ended up taking another college bat out of Tennessee, and it just didn't really make sense what they were doing. There was no cost savings. It seems like they passed up a lot of upside. So I didn't love what the Brewers did, and I did not love the Ben Hess pick with the Yankees. But they've got time to fix that. The second and the rest of the rounds are coming up. Maybe they saved a couple bucks for some of these very talented high school players that are still sitting out there.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for the balanced and nuanced perspective on all these great prospects as they hope to become very successful in the next chapter of their careers. We appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.